Yo, what's going on, everyone? I'm Alec.
And I'm Pat.
And this is Off the Court. You're watching and listening to us, hopefully, YouTube, Spotify. And we're here, baby. This is our first ever episode. And today's guest is a special one for us. He's a 9-time Navasartian champ. You don't hear that often. He's a 2-time Pan Armenian Games champion, a Hall of Famer, both at Cal Lutheran and Hoover High. He's one of the most competitive guys that we've ever come across in anything that you do. It's tough playing against him, I'll tell you that, but it's fun playing with him. Today's guest, Big Z, Zareh Avedian. Z, welcome to the show, man.
Welcome, Z. Hey guys, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Definitely, man. We couldn't think of a better guy to bring on as our first guest. Both of us are gym rats. We've grown up in the gyms, our dad coaching early on, so we were always watching you guys play and watching you and some of the other guys. It made us want to get to that same level, so thanks for coming on. We both know you on a personal level. We've got to know you over the years, but for someone out there that's watching this for the first time, they might only know you on the court. What's Big Z like off the court?
Off the court, I'm actually a really chill guy. I know a lot of people look at me on the court and they're like, damn, this guy's an asshole. That's just my competitive side. I know I got to do what I got to do to win the game for my team. But off the court, I'm very chill, laid back. I like cracking jokes, messing with people, just having a good time and laughing.
And that's what we've come to know you as, man. You love having a good time, but that killer instinct, it's something else, dude. It's something else. Both of us thought about doing this show for this reason, getting guys like you on to sit down and just have fun with it, talk about different accomplishments that you've had and some stuff that you're going to be able to give to the next group of guys. Even guys that are still playing, they can take something away. We've seen different sides of you, man. But tell me what it was like, the beginning of Big Z. Tell me what made you love the game of basketball.
It was just watching pictures of my dad playing back in Iran, in the army. He kept showing it to me. And every time there was a Laker game on, he was watching it. So I was always around the game. But I definitely got to give it to my older cousins. They really got me playing the game. I watched them play, especially Bobby. He was really good when we were younger. So I think I kind of got my competitiveness from there. I always wanted to be better than him, beat him, and he would always kick my ass. We would always play basketball one-on-one in the backyard, and he would just get me every single time. Nothing, man. Just, I was from the ages of like 11 to 13, right before I got into high school, I was pretty good. I was able to go left and right, which you can really, kids that age is very hard to see. But then I grew, I was very skinny, and freshman year I got 0 playing time on the freshman team in high school. Yeah. That was pretty tough. I would go home pissed off, wanting to quit. My dad never let me quit. He said, the coach, whatever he says, you gotta listen and learn from him. So I kept learning, kept going at it, kept growing, which by the time I kind of, grew into my height, I already had the skill set, so I started playing better. Sophomore year, I played on the JV team. They moved me up to varsity for the playoffs. I didn't really play that year, but on varsity, just experience-wise, it was great. Junior year is where I caught my break. I was still backup power forward on our high school team, and the starting guy didn't make grades. He didn't have the GPA to continue playing, so the coach put me in, and the first game I remember was at Pasadena High School. I went for like 28 points and 12 rebounds. And after that, it was just up from there. Up from there, exactly.
You mentioned a quick point, your height. Was that something that you grew into it, or were you always a tall kid?
I was very tall and skinny.
Yeah,
when I was younger. Yeah, I was. Some people used to crack jokes. They used to call me Somalia. That's how skinny I was. But as I started, building some muscle and growing into it, it really helped me out.
Right.
Yeah, obviously people that watch basketball, they think that height is the only factor of being a good player, but there's so much more to that. And you touched on it. you know, your height was there, but you continued working on your game. What were some of the small things fundamentally that you were doing in addition to having that height that set you apart from the guys on your level?
I would definitely work on my footwork. I would pretend that someone's guarding me in the post. I would make moves to my right, make moves to my left. Something funny is growing up, now everyone's like, Z, how do you have such a good left hand? Why is your left so good? Growing up, I didn't have any older brothers or sisters, so I would play horse, my right hand versus my left hand. And I kept doing that and doing that and doing that, and I built both my strong hand and my off arm.
Yeah.
So, you know, when driving to the basket or shooting a jump shot, it kind of put the defenders at a difficult situation.
Yeah.
They didn't know really how to guard me.
You know, it's funny, man. Funny that you say that, because it's like you got to find different ways. You know, kids nowadays, they feel like if they don't have a court at home, they can't work on their game at all in any way. And it's just like a little frustrating watching the younger guys nowadays. They feel like they need a gym to get better. But you got to find different ways, like you said.
Actually, growing up, I didn't have a basketball court. So either it was at my cousin's house, or I would get with my friends and we'd go play one-on-one from like after school until 10 o'clock at night at Hoover outdoor courts.
See, that's the craziest thing, man, because when you go on social media is so big nowadays, you see kids on one-on-one trainers, they're working on such advanced moves, but they're forgetting like the basic stuff. Just go in the park and have some fun.
Exactly. You know, fun is a big thing. I don't, this whole trainer thing, it's great, but you got to have it in you.
Yeah.
You know? You got to be able to, once you're done with the trainer, still find time and go work on it yourself. And that's the one thing that kind of separates the great athletes from the okay ones these days, is because the okay ones, they have that training with the trainer and they're like, oh, I already did my thing. I could go home and play video games now. But the ones who become great, they finish that one-on-one training and afterwards they go work on their shot. They go work on their ball handling. They do different things.
Right.
How important is game experience compared to training, in your opinion?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, there really is no way that you could prepare what to do during a game. The more you play in the game, the more you see different defenses, double teams,
press, anything. Yeah.
Exactly. That's how you learn, and you learn how to attack it.
That's key. And, you know, I think game experience, like you say, is huge. And it's tough because a lot of kids are just trying to train, you know, work on game moves, but it's not the same as if someone's guarding you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, you know, growing up, did you have a Homenetmen player, or even obviously a lot of kids nowadays have NBA players, but who are you looking up to as like the guy that you were trying to model your game after and kind of, you know, be as great as them?
Well, like I said in the beginning, it was probably my cousin Bobby. I was just trying to get there to beat him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a Jordan fanatic, whatever you want to call it. You know? I would work on his fadeaway jumpers or his one-step pull-ups and just watch him every single day and try to learn from him.
I mean, good segue, man, into The Last Dance.
Man.
We were all watching it. What was your thoughts on that show?
You know, it was growing up watching Jordan play, I really never understood his mentality until I got to see The Last Dance, and the way he just approached the game, and
the behind the scenes stuff too.
Stuff, the way he approached the game, the way he always tried to find a reason to go out and compete is just unbelievable.
Putting things in his head to motivate himself.
Exactly.
Is that something you've ever tried doing, like putting something in your head before a game or practice, like I'm going to do this?
You know, for me, when I get into game time, I always try to find someone that's going to try to like talk some shit to me or something to get me going.
Or rally you up a little.
Or a reason, this guy thinks he could guard me, for example.
Yeah.
You know, I start building that up in my head. But the main thing for me is anytime I step out on the court, I mean, especially when I was younger, is I didn't want anyone leaving the gym thinking, oh, this guy doesn't know how to play.
Yeah.
I wanted anyone who was there playing or watching to know that I was the best player on the court.
I mean, that's what makes you, man. I mean, putting yourself above the rest with that mentality, dude. We know a little bit about your high school and college career, but I want to have you take us back to that time frame, dude. You gave us a little bit of a glimpse of what it was like at Hoover, but stepping outside of Hoover now, now it's time to pick a college and go to the next step. What was that transition like going from high school ball to college?
The number one thing was, and I can't emphasize this enough for all the kids out there, is grades are very important. Schoolwork is very important. I really didn't have someone that guided me into that right direction. And I had looks, D1 looks. I had Jerry Tarkanian from Fresno State who would reach out. He would talk to my dad. We would go out to visits, and it's just not having the grades. It didn't work out. But I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason.
For sure.
I took the route, went to Cal Lutheran. Obviously, at first you're kind of nervous. It's a new environment. Yeah. New surroundings. You're living out there. You're not at home anymore.
For Armenians, it's tough.
for Armenians, it's very tough. Yeah. No macaron or chorbat. Cafeteria food.
Yeah.
So I got out there, and my freshman year, we had a All-American big that was starting in front of me. And obviously, as a freshman, this guy's already put in 4 years of work. The coach isn't going to just sit him and have a freshman come and play over him. But every single time we had practice, I would give it to this guy. I remember we had every year they had an inter-squad scrimmage, and my coaches, they picked one of the other freshmen and put them on the first team, which really pissed me off. And that's kind of like we were talking about the whole Jordan thing, find a reason. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out and show these coaches that they made a mistake. And I think I probably had like 40-something points against this All-American, and just after that, lit him up, which carried over. Sophomore year, I started playing, led the conference in scoring, became a first-team all-conference sophomore year, all-area second team, and then again, junior year, dominated, led the conference in scoring again, got first-team all-conference, second-team all-area, and then my senior year, again, I led the conference in scoring. I think I averaged around 26 points a game or something. And I won conference MVP and received the All-American award. One story I want to share with you real quick is sophomore year, my very first game I'm starting, we're playing against Cal State LA. And all I could hear is that this player they have, he's an All-American, he's the best player, he's dominating, he's this and that. So the game starts, and I just took it to this guy, and I gave it to him. I think I had like 34 points and like 15, 16 rebounds.
Do you remember who the player was?
I don't. Something Johnson, maybe like Terrence Johnson or something like that. I don't remember his name.
Any big-time guys you played up against?
Played against Devin George.
Really?
Played against, in high school, played against Gilbert Arenas.
And there's a reason why those guys get to the NBA.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
It's totally different.
They're above, a step above.
They're a different beast.
It's a step above. Yeah. They have the right route. They take the right route. They have the right trainers at that level. You need the right training.
Big time.
So.
Hey, man.
It's tough. It's not easy. But I want to ask you a quick question. During that time in college, was it hard for you? I'm sure you had to find a part-time job. Were you working at the time? Practice, school, work? Was that hard to balance?
Work-wise, when you would play, you would always ref like intramural basketball, intramural volleyball. So we would kind of get money off that. You didn't have to worry about lunch, dinner. Everything was provided for you. So, I mean, here and there, making that money off from intramural games was enough just for that time. And plus, Cal Lutheran is about 45 minutes to an hour away. So if I ever needed anything, I would just come back home.
Yeah, definitely.
What was the dynamic like between playing college ball and still giving some time back to your Homenetmen teams? Was that something that you were focused on, or you were totally 100% on college, in your head and not worried about Homenetmen, or were you mixing both?
With me I'm a big time gym rat. So if there was any time to play basketball, I would go play. I would finish practices at Cal Lutheran, and at that time we were playing a tournament out in the AGBU in the Valley. I'll get in my car, drive to Encino, play with my RUD boys in the tournament, and then drive back to school.
Head back.
Right.
The only tournament I was able to play was Navasartian. I wasn't able to play winter games in San Diego because of NCAA rules. But yeah, man, I didn't sit out any tournaments because I didn't want to play.
You hear that too much now, right?
I don't get it. I don't get it. if I'm gonna be sitting out and watching my team play, it's gonna drive me crazy.
Big time. Yeah. If you can play, man, why not? I mean, who knows how many more years we can play. You know, Pat brought up a good point, and I didn't even know that you had signed a contract, right, Pat?
Yeah, I wanted to. You signed with the ABA team at the time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so after college, I went to Germany for a little bit, played out there. The difficult part for me was because I was born here in the States, you needed dual citizenship to go play overseas. And I had to get dual citizenship for the place my dad was born, which was Iran. And it was right during the time of 9/11. It was just timing was crazy for me. So that kind of didn't work out to get that. It's called Bosman B status, to get that dual citizenship. So after Germany, I came back and I played in the ABA. Crazy story. The way I got into the ABA was one of my teammates, Big Anthony.
Yeah.
He told me, hey, Z, right before literally a semifinal game in Navs, he's all like, Z, I have this one guy coming and he wants to come check you out to see if you're good enough to invite you to the tryouts for the ABA. And we were playing Shant that day in the semis. I was like, okay, perfect. So that just gave me an extra drive for that game. And I had a great game. The guy talked to me after the game. He invited me to the tryouts. Walking to the tryouts, there's about 100 people. I'm like, man, what is this? I was thinking about just leaving. I was like, probably these guys are already handpicked. But I was like, yeah, it's basketball. Why not? Just play. So I thought about myself. It was like literally like all Sevs and me and this other white guy. I was like, okay, what could I do to stand out? I go, I'm probably not going to jump higher. I'm probably not going to run faster. What could I do? Shoot. Game start. First game, I hit 6 threes. Second game, I hit 6 threes. And at that time, the coach was Gary Grant, who played for the Clippers.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm not joking. This is like 30 minutes into the tryouts. He calls me over. He goes, okay, you're done. You're on the team.
Really?
Yeah. He told me you could leave. So I left the tryouts 30 minutes in, and just the next week they sent over a contract, signed it, played a season with them, and that's about it.
Talk a little bit about that experience of playing with pros like that, or even playing pro overseas. What was it like? I'm sure it's a little more physical at that higher level. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I mean, it's different. It's so different than what we see, during Homenetmen games, because it's all crazy athletes. Like some of these guys would be in the NBA. It's just they did some wrong things at the wrong time, and that's what kind of kept them out. One practice, Gary Grant, the coach, he put me through an NBA drill, and man, I was dying afterwards. Literally, like I couldn't walk for like a day. That's how sore my body was. Yeah. But the physicality, it's just the endurance these guys have. It's just crazy, man. Just trying to keep up with them. It was exciting. I definitely, if I could go back, I'll do it again.
Right.
I'm sure it was a great time, man. Circling back to just a few years before you got into that ABA contract, we're talking about 02, 03, a big prime of your career. And we all know the story, man. You have a career game, and, on paper it said 49-20, but I'm hearing it was a little more than that. Take me back to that game, that tournament, and that environment.
Yeah, man. We got to Armenia, and the night before our first practice, and I'm never going to forget this, we go out, party. And the next day, the Armenia team is there, the Sochi team is there, and they're looking at us practice, and some guys are throwing up, some guys can't even run. And I hear them talking, you guys don't have to worry about Glendale. You guys don't have to worry about Glendale. So we get there, we get to the championship game, and we're playing Yerevan. They had an amazing team that year. It was kind of their national team. They had a 7-footer who was a professional, I think one of the best players in Georgia. They had a couple of other guys who played in Moscow professionally. And they actually beat one of the best teams that I've ever seen in Homenetmen, which is the AGBU team. They beat them in the semis, and we ended up playing in the championship game. And that was my time. I'm in my prime. It's the best shape I'm in my life. I'm definitely walking into this game saying that I'm going to show every single person who the best player is, who the best Armenian basketball player is. So the game starts, and I'm just, I score first 13, 14 points, runs back and forth. They go up 11. We come back, we tie it. They go up 4. Essentially, the game goes into overtime, and we win the game. And to your point, what you just brought up about the points, we just recently got the official score sheet. Arad had it. We got it. It was actually 52 points.
52.
52?
52 points, 20 rebounds.
And 20 rebounds. Wow. Best game you've ever had?
Best game I ever played. Best game I ever played. And that's how the whole overseas thing happened. Because right afterwards, literally like 8, 9, 10 agents are coming up to me after the game and just talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that there was exposure in that environment is pretty cool too. And you obviously lit it up, man. Going from that to your Homenetmen career a little bit, you guys obviously had put together a group of guys that weren't all on one ARA team or all on one team, Homenetmen team, to go to Pan Armenia. What was that mix like? Taking guys like from A1, A2, A3, whatever it was. How did that work out so well at that time?
I think it worked perfectly because we all were friends. ARA 1, ARA 2 at that point, we were all very close and we were friends. We kind of all grew up together. So when we got there, everyone kind of knew their role already. And like Martin knew you had to play defense, rebound. We had our shooters, we had our point guards, and they kind of gave me the ball and let me create. So I think that's key. I mean, anytime a team goes out to any competition, any tournament, if you know your role, that's the best chance. Successful. Yeah, that's the best chance you give yourself to win.
For sure. When you come back from Armenia, that team more or less that went to Armenia kind of establishes themselves as A1, right? But at that point, you had just won O2 as A2. You know what I mean? So
funny story. Yeah, I was just gonna tell you that. So before we went to Armenia, the Navs right before, I was on ARA2 with Bobby, Elo, and a couple of the other guys. And ARA1 had their main core, which was Art, Mart, Narbe, Greg. And we ended up facing each other in the championship game in Navs. And we ended up winning. By the way, the only ARA2 team to ever win the Navs championship. I mean, it was fun because we bragging rights like crazy in Armenia.
Whole time.
But I mean, that kind of solidified, like that kind of showed everyone on the team who was going to Armenia, like who is doing
the
what.
Hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. Like who could do what and who has the say and who we have to listen to and who the leaders are.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And, coming back, you guys had that team put in place, and we all know you guys had a core that has lasted even till today in some ways. That core that you put together, 15 appearances in the Navasartian finals. You have 9 championships. But I'm a type of guy, and I know you're the same, man. I hate losing more than I like winning. We're both like that. Pat is the same. Talk to me just a little bit, man. Those finals that you lost, was it something that you feel like the teams are always better than you, or there's no doubt in your head A1 has to win every year?
Like it should have been yours.
100% it should have been us. It's just we got outplayed, man. At the end of the day, it's one game. Whoever brings it that day, whoever plays the best, whoever has the best game plan usually comes out as the winner. And those losses definitely hurt a lot more than I think. Winning is great. Yeah, you win it, but when you lose, it stings, man. It doesn't go away for a while. But at the end of the day, you really don't win until you lose. You got to lose a couple before you learn how to win.
And we're judged on Navasartian games, and that's what a Homenetmen basketball player is judged on. It sucks. We freaking lost out on one Navasartian out of all the years we've been playing, but next year hopefully we get it back, man. I want to show you a couple of picks.
Sure. And
I want you to kind of give me a play-by-play for those people that weren't at the game. Give us a little bit of a play-by-play, dude. Hopefully it doesn't bring back bad memories.
It's bringing back some flashbacks, bro. I don't know about this.
Take me back, Z. Take me back to this finals game.
Let me see,
oh,
what is this?
No.
What was going on over there?
Why are you doing this to me right now?
For those of us that weren't there.
This is when we played LA, and low scoring game at 41-40 with 4 seconds left. I think we're up 40 to like 33 or something with like 2 minutes left. And then Robert, the big on LA, just went on like a 8-0 run by himself. And we came back, and I got the ball, made a drive to the basket. I rushed it. I shot the ball with 4 seconds left. I hate you for this. Just bringing back all this pain right now. So, I mean, I could have probably taken an extra dribble or two, gone to the lane for a layup. But I took the jump shot, missed it, and we lost.
Look, man, when we talk about those LA teams, that was probably your first major rivalry in Homenetmen, right? What were those teams like going up against those guys, Jerry, Sako?
Man, they had a really good team. It was, I mean, I went home literally like bruised up and my body hurt because we would hit each other. Back then, they didn't have these ticky-tack fouls and hand checks and all that stuff. But the person I got to give it up to is Carlo, man. Carlo really got his team to play in those games. He had the great game plan, on how to guard us, who to help off of, who to stick with. And it worked out, man. As you could tell, 41-40, man. That's such a low-scoring game. That's something I would usually score on my own is 40 points.
That's with shot clock and everything. You guys still had back then, right?
Pre-shot clock.
Yeah, pre-shot clock.
Okay.
Pre-shot clock.
Yeah.
40 to 40. I mean, it sucks, man. Like, one of the main things that we've talked about, and they started doing it recently, is filming the games, right? Yeah. But when we talk about, like, prior to 2016, they never filmed anything.
Right.
The only game footage I've seen on YouTube is the OC LA championship.
Yeah.
And you see Lalazarian running in with like 10 seconds
Crowd's
left.
Crowd's going crazy with that one, man. I remember that.
You look at the score, it's like 35 to 33, and they're holding the ball. It was a different time back then.
We actually played Shant one year, and I think the final score was like 37-38 or something like that. It was just crazy. Grinder, yeah, definitely.
Mentioning Shant, I would say that was your second biggest rivalry. Could be even considered the biggest because you guys always found a way to see them in the finals.
Right.
I mean, you got the better of them almost every year. Unfortunately, you lost to them once. I was a part of that. But take me back to that Shant rivalry time.
I think out of my 9, 5 or 6 of them were against Shant. That's crazy. We met a lot in the finals. That's another one, man. We all kind of grew up together in A division. We knew how one another played. So when we played each other, it was kind of just like, hey, you know how to guard this guy, you know how to guard this guy. So we just played, and it was a grind, man. These guys came out and they would hit. They would try to get under your skin. They would take your legs out sometimes. I mean, we would do the same to them. They had that mentality. You got to do what you got to do to win the game. And it was fun, man. And the best part about those Shant teams was when we would play on the court against them, we would hate each other. But afterwards, I mean, they're my boys. Like, I hang out with them. I go grab lunch with them.
Yeah.
I love these guys. So, it is what it is. But, again, I love playing the Shant teams because one of their players, and I'm not going to name who, always try to say he's a better basketball player than me. So every time we would play them, that kind of gave me that extra drive to come out and, like, kind of shut them up.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny. I was going through it was Hoover and GHS alumni game, and a lot of those guys were on that Glendale team, and you played them before, right? Yeah, so you're familiar with them, and they're familiar with you, huh?
Yeah, we were the same age group, so we played in high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years.
Oh, right.
And then
carried on.
To home. Yeah, I carried on to home.
That's a big point, I feel like. Nowadays, you have so many diverse schools. People are all over the place, so you don't get really a rivalry with anybody like you guys. I mean, 80% of your teams were at Hoover or Glendale.
Right.
So you got that little rivalry going on at school, at Homenetmen. I feel like we don't have that as much anymore. Mm-hmm. But I want to show you another pic, man. This is probably one of the most memorable games we've been to, talked about for weeks afterwards, and this is one of the better ones for you, so don't worry about it. But take me back, man. Take me back to this game in specific and this photo, which is an iconic one.
Oh man, I remember this one. I'm sitting down all the way on the other side of the court. We're playing Shant in the finals, and Shant Rivalry, I think was on their team, and he came. We just scored to go up 1, and he came down, took a jump shot. He got fouled, and he got hurt on the way down. So he got subbed out, and they brought Meher, my boy Meher, in the game for 2 free throws. And it's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this during Navs. He's the only one on the free throw line. Everyone is away because there's no time left. And we're just sitting there and hoping and praying that he misses the free throws. And he did, and we were just celebrating afterwards. Man. It's a nice picture, man. Let me get a copy of this. For sure. I'm gonna,
gotta be...
Mike, I'm going to text this to you, Mike.
Gotta be one of the craziest endings ever, you know. I mean, we were standing there in the stands and walking around the streets, man, like you would just hear people talking about that game.
This was a little more high scoring, 65-64.
Yeah.
They still had that classic battle, physical game.
Of course.
Yeah.
And anytime we played each other, anytime you play those old school Shant guys, it was a battle. It was a battle. And but I give it up to them. They stuck together. You know, they worked hard as a team. You know, I heard stories on how these guys would get up every single morning and go run on the track to get in shape or whatnot, and come play, and they got one. They deserve it. They beat us in the finals one year. This picture that I was just talking about, Big Art had missed a couple free throws to give us a chance to get back in the game and take the lead. And just like how he gave us one the following year,
took it away.
2 seconds left, he made both free throws, and the game went into overtime, and they beat us in overtime. Props to him.
It happens like that, man. I mean, I was telling Pat earlier today, actually, I was just thinking back to when I was with you guys on A1. You know, outside of Homenetmen, we would battle against Sean at Verdugo Park.
Yeah.
You know, that was a fun time. And outside of Homenetmen, it was the same back and forth. You know, wherever you play against each other, it's like, what were you thinking around the Verdugo Park times? That was a fun time.
Verdugo Park was fun, man. Yeah. It was a little different competition. You know, you played against different people. That was different from Homenetmen. But at the end, we would end up playing against Shant again in the finals. And same old story, you know, we'd hit each other, and we would play literally like it was Navasartian Championship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was crazy. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Looking at the younger Shant team, just to go off a little bit.
Hudge's team?
Hudge's team. You think their style of play is something that's going to be able to work in 1A, or you think that's something that they just caught everyone off guard for the first couple of tournaments?
I think they caught everyone off guard. I mean, they have a great player in Armon, and I see him working out every single day, working on his game. He's a great kid, great player. It's just I feel like they're a few pieces away. They need like a Martin Avanesian. They need a big to kind of do all the little things, do the dirty work for them. And they don't really have that one yet on their team. But I mean, they're young, so they have a lot of years to kind of maybe
figure it out a little.
They're very aggressive, but they're lacking size too.
Very aggressive, lacking size, but they have a few years to do some recruiting. And I've heard some stuff. Hutch, I know you're out there trying to get some players. I hear it.
Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. You know, moving forward in your Homenetmen career a little bit, you start meeting Massis, you know, 2 different Massis teams in the finals and playoffs. And you know, we all know when Mike jumped onto the scene, it was something else, man. Take me back to when you get through the Shant Rivalry. Now you got to face Mike in the finals. What was that like?
Man, that first few years Mike came into the league, he was unbelievable.
It was crazy.
I mean, other than Andre Spite, I think Mike's hands down the best guard to have ever played in Homenetmen. And he just came, and literally he was putting up 40, 45, 50 a game, and he took that Massis team, who was a quarterfinal team at best the year before or years before, and he won the championship with them. That's one thing I give credit to Mike is I think very few people have that same mentality that I had, that, you know, I'm going to step out on the court no matter who I'm playing. I'm going to show everyone that I'm the best player, and Mike had that. He came, didn't matter if he was playing Arad 20 or Arad 1 or Shant, he was going to come out and just show everyone that he's the best player, and he did.
Yeah, he's very competitive for sure.
Competitive.
Did you know anything about him prior to that?
I had heard some stuff about Mike, you know, through newspapers, really much social media back then. But I mean, you're not Grant's leading scorer just by luck. You got to work hard, and
especially when a guy like Gilbert Arenas was
exactly and be good at what you do. So props to him, man. He's an amazing player.
For sure, man. I mean, we have debates all the time, but
he actually had in I think 2011. Yeah, when they won, was it 11? They won Armenia.
Yeah, they beat Sochi that year.
They beat Sochi, and he had 49 points.
Yeah,
you got to be a ball player to be able to do that. Yeah,
a lot of guys mentally they might be thinking they want to dominate the game when they step in, but to do it, it's a whole nother thing. I can walk in thinking I'm going to drop 35.
Yeah,
but to do it consistently, that's what separates guys like you and Mike and Dre. That Massis 2 team is someone that, even though they jumped on the scene for just a short amount of time, you guys faced them in the finals, lost to them, but that was a kind of like a tough situation for you guys. I personally feel like there was mistakes made on a few ends. What was that year like? What was that championship game like for you?
I mean, I don't really look at that Massis 2 team as a rival. It was just a one-year thing that happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, we beat them in the group games, and the game plan that Coach Pat had for them coming into that game was very good. And they had Gary, who obviously we all know he's a D1 player, one of the best guards out there. He played great. Narek played great. I mean, these guys were hitting some tough shots, hands in the face, and there was some stuff that were done on our end that I would disagree with. But I mean, it happened. You gotta take it. You gotta soak it in and move on.
Right, but one thing I noticed with that team, that was the first team to have, well, since like Shant, to have 2 6'7" guys go up against you and Z. Yeah. That must have been tough going up against 2 guys that can match your...
2 guys, 2 younger guys. Jack, great player. He played at Kansas State. And then you had Nick, who's a great athlete. Could jump, rebound. Mm-hmm. They gave us trouble. I think the one thing was that we we're going for a 3-peat. So we walked in, especially beating them in the group games. We're like, we're probably going to win this game too. Just mentally, we weren't as ready. And that's why it's so hard to 3-peat. In anything. I mean, if you really look at it, you go play in a rec league or whatever, it's so hard to 3-peat. It's just that mental part is so difficult. It's just I don't
both
I don't
on
understand.
The motivation for you and the other team has just, you've decreased a little bit in motivation and they've wanted to beat you more.
Yeah, so this team, we don't want to, they're coming out to beat you. You're the best team out there, so that drive is there for them.
Right. What, if anything, do you miss the most? I know you mentioned the rivalries were fun for you, but do you miss anything about the games back prior to 14, 15? Do you miss anything in the early Homenetmen style, or you're more happy with the shot clock, things like that now?
I miss the physicality of the game. It was a lot more team game back then as well. It wasn't really just get the ball and shoot threes and run up and down. Miss my young legs, that's for sure. I definitely miss those.
Being able to play back-to-back days.
If I could get those back, it would be great. And the teammates I had, man, they were my boys. I mean, obviously the guys on the team they're my boys as well, but those were the guys that I grew up with, and my favorite teammate of all time, Martin Avanesian's on that team. My cousin Bobby was on that team. My boys Elo, Narb, with Greg, Art, all those guys were on the team. So it was fun, man. It was fun playing with those guys.
I feel like in terms of complimenting, they suited your game better than any other team. No disrespect to the team now, but back then I felt like it was more like you said earlier, more established roles.
Exactly. Yeah, that, and I mean, you got to understand now, I'm not the same player as I was back then. So so we need these guys to kind of step it up and take more shots and try to take that leadership role. One big thing that I forgot to mention about the past was back then you had multiple teams who actually had a chance to win Navs. Now it's just us and Massis or Shant, but there isn't really much competition right now. So I think if some of these chapters get together and start combining teams, it'll make Homenetmen, Navasartian a lot more fun, a lot more competitive. But then again, some people have to put their egos aside and be okay with, you know, someone else coming on team and taking shots and giving up shots and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's tough, man. I mean, that's one of the things I was going to ask you was to create some more parity, you know. I think that would make the league better as a whole, but it's tough. There's so many different things that need to happen for parity to set in place. When it comes to A1, you guys have always built a team from the guys you have, but you always bring in a few younger guys. And I was able to be one of those younger guys at one point. How are we going to get that to happen across Homenetmen? Let's say you're a Shant or a Massis. How do you get that to happen?
I mean, I've been on A1 for close to 18 years now. And for me, it was just, you know, people get older. You know, in 2007, we brought Little Z, my brother-in-law, on the team. And at that point, I wasn't old. I was still young. But at that point, I realized, you know, this guy's, he's a baller. You know, he's going to come on the team. I'm going to start taking less shots because I want to win. At the end of the day, not anyone could just come join our team. There are a lot of great players in Arad who are amazing offensive players and could put the ball in the hole. It's just they don't fit what Arad want. You got to have a special mentality or something. There's this thing you got to have to be able to play on A1. And I always tell people is everyone could say, yeah, I want to win. I want to win. I love winning. I go to play on A1 or to be competitive. It's not how much you want to win. It's how much you hate losing. What are you going to do? How much do you hate that pain of losing a game that you're going to do to win the game? You know, that's kind of where it separates the winning and losing. And anyone could just say, I want to win.
Yeah.
You
know, Pat will attest to this since we've been on A2. Since I left A1, one of my goals was, you know, I want to beat the shit out of A1 one day, you know, but
good luck.
It's tough, man. It's tough because I feel like when you guys play up against somebody that you know, you guys turn it up at a certain level. We saw it in San Diego. You guys were playing LA, you fell behind, walking around, but then at the last 10 minutes, you guys fucking turned it on and just went crazy. You know what I mean? And with A2, I feel like we always get the best of you guys. But hopefully one day we can turn it around and beat you guys.
I just think you get the best from us because we're not going to let another Aura team come and beat us.
Do you say that now? I want to go work a little bit and get ready.
You know, fast forwarding to this last year, 2019. Obviously, we're talking about the year as a whole. You guys win all 3 Homenetmen tournaments, and we all go to Armenia together to represent Glendale and bring home that Pan Armenian Games Championship. It avoided you for 16 years, man. Talking from 03 to 19, you guys had some tough times winning, you know, getting to the finals, getting to the semis. But what was that like, going back and winning that Pan Armenian Games Championship? What was that feeling like for you?
You know, before we left, I mean, we had all these teams prior to this year going to Armenia, and we were never just a team. You know, everyone was kind of individuals. There was always 2 separate teams combined into one who really didn't like each other. This year was different, man. This year we didn't have that Arad 1, Arad 2 divide. So we kind of put the team together. The core was Arad 1. We had a few players. And obviously having Andre Spite, I mean, really helped. The guy's unbelievable. I think he put up 40 points in the championship game. Prior to going to Armenia, and Alec, I know you remember this, Pat, you weren't there, no coaches were allowed. We sat down and one by one, I went over every single person's role.
Yes.
You know, saying, okay, for example, myself, I'm not there to create. I'm only there to catch the ball, shoot, rebound, and play defense. Or same with Z. Narb, you're a slasher. Alec, you're a shooter. You know, Andre's our playmaker. If Andre's not in, Teo's our playmaker. And I think once that kind of settled in, everyone kind of realized that. When we went out there, it was kind of like going out there in 2003. Everyone knew their role. And we got to the championship game. And, man, that team we beat, that Beverly Hills team, is one of the best teams I've ever seen in an Armenian basketball tournament.
1 through 14, whatever, how many guys they had could all play.
These guys had D1 players, and it wasn't just D1 players 10 years ago. It was just D1 players who just came out of college, or a couple of guys who played D2, D3. A few players were playing overseas, and just beating that team was
big time.
A lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
You know, going back to the first process of making that team, it was a goal of mine to be a part of that team. I know my dad was someone that in the years prior really wanted to be a part of the coaching staff, head coach, obviously. And he got that chance. And I'll tell you, from day one, he made it a goal of his to get with you, Big Z, Dre, Narb, and establish that hierarchy.
Little Z.
Did I say Big Z?
Yeah.
My bad. Lil Z. And establish that hierarchy like you mentioned, dude. And I think from that day, you guys brought that on to the players. The coaches brought that to you guys as leaders. And that set it up, dude. But going back to the Beverly Hills team, like you said, where do you rank them? Where do you rank that team as far as the ones that you've played?
Probably top 5. I mean, you have the AGBU teams, obviously, probably the best, if not second best team of all time. You have Sochi, you have Tehran, and Yerevan. So they're up there with those guys. But in that game, man, Andre Spite, anyone who came into the game really provided. You know, they did something to help us win. Obviously, Andre's 40 points. Teo had a huge 20 points. Made big plays towards the end. Z, they cheated Z out. And that was one of the things for me was after that happened, I really wanted to win that one for Z, you know, because he deserves one. And thank God we were able to do that. Samson made huge plays.
Oh, yeah.
Azad came in, had a big offensive rebound. Tharon had huge rebounds. Everyone on the bench, you know, they were jumping up, clapping, cheering us on, you know, helping us with defensive rotations. I mean, it was just a team effort, man. Everyone involved.
For sure.
Team win.
Talk a little bit about your matchup against Arkady and Hike. You were guarding Hike a little bit, right?
Hike and we kind of switched off on both.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Man, Arkady's an amazing basketball player. I haven't seen a big in a while, especially an Armenian big in a while, that has the footwork and the post moves that he has. It was a challenge for me, you know, at the age of 38, going up against this D1 guy. I kind of want to see what I could do and give to him, and luckily, you know, he had a great game. I mean, and I think he probably had like 20, 30 points that game himself, but I think I was able to get him in the last few minutes, 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, that kind of helped the team win.
Right.
You know, I think you kind of have a guess of the next question we're going to ask you, man. So, Pat.
2003 team against the 2019 team. Who's winning and why?
And
Dream Team versus Redeem Team.
You're playing, both states.
Prime Z versus Old Z?
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough one.
It doesn't mean you have to guard each other, but...
That's a tough one. I think me and Dre cancel each other out with the 40-plus points in the game. It's a different game, man. It's
And let's just say Z doesn't get kicked out first half of the game.
Yeah, it's... I need to answer this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, come on.
The folks need to hear it, man. This is barbershop talk, dude.
Yeah, I would give probably when game goes into overtime, and just because I'm in my prime, I got to give it to the 03 team.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You know, we obviously feel like the 19 team has more athletes, better shooters, in my opinion.
The 03 team had a lot of shooters too. Definitely.
It's you know what it is, going to overtime and it's a coin flip at that point. You know?
The grit and physicality of 03 can change the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Get a couple players frustrated. Maybe someone gets kicked out. You never know.
Yeah.
So,
Pat, why you got to put me on the spot like that, man?
Oh, come on. Everyone's been talking about it, and I want to know who better to answer it. You put on both teams.
Yeah, I hear you.
And, you know, we know you pretty well, but looking forward, man, to 2023, the next Pan Armenian Games Championship. Is this something that you're going to walk off into the sunset like we just won it, or you want to go back and do it all over again, man?
A personal goal of mine, and I told my wife this as well, that I want to go back and win. Prior to winning 2019, that this was my main goal, to go back and win Armenia 20 years after the first time we won in 03. And I mean, if I could play, I mean, I'm definitely working hard to stay in shape. If I'm there and I could play, why not, man? Why not give it another ride? I mean, I love competition. I'm not gonna shy away. So if I could, you know, produce and have an impact in the game, I'm gonna be there. But if I'm not gonna go if I'm gonna sit on the bench and clap and not play a second. That's not me.
Yeah.
I mean, this time around, we saw when it meant the most. I saw you come out and show it up, man. I mean, talking about that finals game, how many points did he have in the final?
Well, you had like
quarter,
12 in the final quarter, fourth quarter.
10.
A few big threes,
yeah.
And that's, you know, if you're not gonna be able to provide a role like you said, I'm sure it hurts as the competitor in you. But absolutely. I think, you know, if we put together a similar group, I think we can do it, man.
I mean, as long as BJ's coaching, I think we got a good chance.
And we need everyone there again, dude. It was honestly, we've talked about this all the time. From day one, when we got together, we were so cool working together. You know, we had a few issues here and there, but any team that's that competitive, putting a bunch of alphas together, it's tough. But if we put together a similar group, man, 2023, and I personally feel like we're going to see Beverly Hills again. That'll be a fun little rematch.
Excited.
You know, looking forward to the next couple of years, man, where do you want to be as far as a player? You want to continue playing at a high level, I know that, but where do you see yourself wrapping up in the next couple of years?
Honestly, I think if I could get to Armenia 2023 and if we win that game, I might just drop my jersey on the floor and just walk away there.
That would be...
Start coaching or something.
Start coaching. Right. You got a little boy.
Exactly. The minute he understands basketball and could run around and hold the basketball and shoot, I want him around as much as I can in the gym. So pick up a young team, start coaching them, have them always around, watching.
You've coached before, right?
I have coached before, yeah. So kind of took a break because of him.
Yeah.
But let's see what happens.
Any regrets along the ways, both playing or off the court? Anything that you would have changed as a player? Or?
Well, I mentioned grades for sure. For sure. Show up to class, you get a 3.0 GPA, you're good to go. Another thing would be probably hit the gym more. You know,
build the body.
I hate working out. I always have. It's just, for me, any level I played at, it came easy. I didn't really have to take that extra. I mean, I would be in the gym because of, like, the whole team had to be in the gym during college. But we had those guys who would go on their own, you know, after hours, lift and stuff. But I wasn't one of those. I was in the gym shooting and working on ball handling and all that stuff. But I would definitely hit the gym, you know, get my body stronger. Try to do some maybe extra plyos.
Yeah.
Jump a little higher.
Hey, man. You still have time to do those things. I know you mentioned you're doing insanity and working out still, so.
Trying to stay in shape for 2023, baby.
Yes, sir. Who's one non-Ara guy from Homenetmen, or even, you know, outside of Homenetmen, an Armenian basketball player that you would have loved to play with at one point?
I mean, I wouldn't mind playing with Mike. You know, the competition was great playing against him, just to see how we would work together. You know, set screens for him, pick and rolls, and see how the defense would react and how it would guard that.
You think if we didn't have chapters, things would be a lot different? Teams would be, you know, built differently, or you think guys would still stick to their groups?
I think if the chapters had the ability to trade and do all that, it might have been a little more interesting. But I mean, that's something that's,
because I had an idea, man. You make this like a league-wide system where we just play 20, 30 games a year. There isn't major tournaments besides Navasartian. Like if we went to San Diego, it'd just be to play games. And I was thinking, man, you slowly get rid of like who can play on who, you know, have one big umbrella. Yeah. I don't know. Could be interesting. Give me your top 5 Homenetmen players of all time.
Man, that's a tough one.
And, you know,
a lot of good players.
You don't have to go in specific order. Just give me 5 guys, and you can put yourself in there.
No, all right,
you never know, dude.
At the 1, I would go with, of course, Andre Spite.
Okay.
The 2 guard, I would go with Mike D. At the 3, I would put Little Z. At the 4, I would put Lalazarian.
Mm-hmm.
And at the 5, I would put me.
Solid. Big team.
How are you going to guard that team?
You
All
can't guard
shooters?
them, man.
Tough. Yeah, very tough.
David's, in my opinion, got to be one of the best short-term Homenetmen players I've seen. He didn't stick around, and from what I saw, that long.
He got hurt. He got his knee injury kind of gave out on him. So
he could do it all, man.
Yeah,
did you get a chance to play against him?
I did. Yeah, we played against each other a few years.
Early 2000s. Yeah.
What was that like going up against him?
It was good, man. That was those drives we talked about. That was another drive that got me going. It's like, okay, man, this guy played at Pepperdine. You know, like I'm gonna come out and see if I could compete with him.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some good battles, man. We played in Armenia against each other. We played out
here against each other. He was on that AGBU team, right?
He was on the AGBU team. The one thing I miss was when I was in Germany. We played them in the semis here that one year where they won the championship. And I missed that game.
Damn.
And we had played them in the group games before and beat them. But I wish I was here to play that game. Yeah, that would be exciting.
Yeah.
Talking off of Homenetmen, NBA, dude. Give me your top 5 NBA players of all time, guys that you feel like those are the dudes.
We got to go with the GOAT, Michael Jordan.
Okay.
All right. Second best player of all time is Kobe Bryant. Third, I'll give it to LeBron. Fourth, we'll go with Magic. And fifth is Shaq. For sure.
Solid 5, man. Who's winning it all this year?
I want to say Lakers. I want to say the Lakers.
It's going to be interesting.
But honestly, I'm not too excited about the season this year. Big asterisk next to the team that wins.
What do you think of the setup they're doing for the NBA? They're keeping it like
no
a
home
short
court,
term.
dude.
Yeah.
You can't
I haven't
judge
really
it.
been following because I'm not really that into it right now. But I mean, it takes that whole, winning on the road,
Yeah.
that excitement, playing at home with the crowd. It's all gone. It's pretty much like pick up basketball.
Yeah.
And I think Sixers have a chance to win this year. That's what I'm saying. There's a big asterisk next to it.
I mean,
anyone
granted,
could come
if your team wins, you're not going to complain. But at the same time,
I think anyone who wins out in my book, there it is. I mean, even in '99 where they had the lockout with the refs, that had the playoff feel to it. It had the home games. It had the away games, and that has an asterisk next to it as well. So
it sucks, man. But at least we're getting something back until we get back on the court. We're pretty much wrapping it up here. Z, thank you again for coming on the show, man. First ever guest. Something that we hope can continue on, grow this up a little bit. And I'm going to leave the platform up to you, man. Anything that you want to shout out, talk about.
I just want to say thank you to all the teammates and coaches I've had. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be the player I am today. Playing with my brother-in-law and my good friend Narb, it really brings out that competitiveness, even off the court. I really want to thank you guys. This is amazing what you guys are doing for the Homenetmen community. Everyone out there, all you Homenetmen guys, if these guys approach you, ask you to be on the show, don't hesitate to say yes. You're doing a good thing for all the young kids out there. They're learning a lot from us. So that's about it. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
For sure,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Like I said, that's about it. That's about a wrap for episode 1, guys. Tune in on YouTube, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, follow us on Instagram. And until episode 2, guys, again, big thank you to Big Z. And
thank you, Z. Appreciate it.
We'll catch you next time, guys. This is Off the Court. Peace.
Take care.
Peace out, guys.